The irrigation districts are unique entities, and there's 3 of them along the Bow River. The Western Irrigation District is the further west, and we're tucked up against the City of Calgary, built at the turn of the century, previous century. Then there's the Bow River Irrigation District centered in Vauxhall, but they take their diversion from Carsland Weir. The WID diversion is here in the city, right by the zoo. There's the weir across the bow. And then there's the Eastern Irrigation District, which I'm a native of. I grew up in and worked in for about 17 years. Their diversion is at the Bizano Dam. So I was just relating with the group this morning about a story that when I was employed at the Eastern Irrigation District, we came across the CPR archives, and there was a picture there from 1919 of the Bizano Dam, and there's a picture at the bottom that said it was during the flood of 1919, 118,000 cubic feet per second flowing over the Bizano Dam. It did a lot of damage to the dam, but it stayed functional. Since then it's been rebuilt a few times, and one of the few gauging stations that was operable throughout this whole event was the one just below the Bizano Dam. For those of us that watch the river every day, they're pretty important sites. And I happened to check the crest. This happened 2 a.m. a couple days ago. It was 3,400 cubic meters a second, so I did my calculation. It was 118,000 cubic feet per second. It's exactly the same flow that happened not 100 years ago, 95 years ago. And we have the records of that, and we did some things since then that we shouldn't have. And that's the result. We have a disaster. This is a natural event that happens periodically. And the reason that it's an issue now is because we've done some things wrong. And we can go around pointing fingers, but what do we do today so that this doesn't happen again, so that we spend our dollars, infrastructure dollars, in our planning where it needs to go? Leads right into this process of what we're talking about, the stormwater. Because what we're dealing with here in this region is stormwater. And we have to get ahead of it and plan. And the reason that the irrigation district becomes involved in this is because the CPR, in its wisdom, when they were granted water rights, they were granted lands, and they were given the mandate to develop this country. We're a product of social engineering, but we're left with a massive infrastructure that also produces food for a growing country. And we end up with, because the Western Irrigation District is the one that happens to be encroached upon by urban development, we feel the pressures the most. We have, sitting over here, Alan Harold is the general manager of the Lethbridge Northern Irrigation District. There, in a different scenario, however, he gets fed by the Old Man Dam, and he was telling me a little story about what happened through this event there. But they have different pressures. It's a different climate, for one thing. They have a lot more heat units, and they're different crops and more intense irrigation. But the Western Irrigation District also retained the drainage systems. And the drainage systems basically run north and south, and the canals run east and west. And so what happens is stormwater runs into the canals. And then when you have a city grow from a small settlement into 1 million people, everything changes. And through the course of time, when Forest Lawn was a town, it's now part of the city, there was agreements made with the irrigation district to enter the canal with stormwater. And so they finally said, well, that's enough stormwater, let's cap the amount of outfalls. They capped it with a moratorium back in the 60s. Then the city kept growing. We won't put any more storm water outfalls in. We'll just keep, they kept growing. And the volume of water kept growing, and the quality went down. And the two things that happen with urban development is the stormwater quantity goes up and the quality goes down, and it impacts the irrigation district. So that there was actually action taken by the district against the City of Calgary, and over a long period of time, eventually there was a settlement, And Calgary agreed to build the Shepherd Wasteway. And that Shepherd Wasteway is what saved us during this event. Because when the rain started coming and the river went up, we closed our gate, diversion gate, our canal stayed full because of stormwater. And we diverted it out through the Shepherd wetland. Stayed in the wetland and didn't go to the river, so that was probably one of the best infrastructure pieces of this whole event that worked. And it worked as a result of the city agreeing to do that through this court-appointed settlement. And the district through the years has entered into stormwater agreements with at least 4 other municipalities. However, they keep growing, and so we could see that there was an opportunity and a need for an overall plan. And I happened to be I went to a Boulder Basin Council forum with this map that consultant gave me of this whole drainage system, how it worked, and I sat down with Kim and showed her this, and she got excited about it, said there's an opportunity here. And I met Lauren Taylor at another function a little time later and asked if he wouldn't work on it with us and help us with it. And it's developed into this CSMI. We even have our own acronym now. And we have our opportunity to lead in water management, because there's a lot of other issues other than stormwater that flow into this. And it's the process of creating partnerships that I think is the real win here. What's going to happen is we're going to solve issues around stormwater, but there's going to be some partnerships that are going to be able to be work on water management and to lead in a lot of other areas. We've been asked to provide a water reuse project, and there will be a pilot project through this that will be around water reuse. We've also been able to identify areas where we can create wetlands as part of an irrigation infrastructure, and we all know the benefits of wetlands. We've been able to increase the water quality and service to the end water user, and provide, this will provide an opportunity to create that infrastructure as well as lead in policy development. So there's a lot of opportunities around this. One of the things that have happened with our district is when the basin was closed to new water allocations, the irrigation districts hold 75% of the allocated water. And that's nice to have, because we have FITFR, which we call first in time, first in right. And we enjoy those privileges, but we also realize that we have to create social license. And social license operating within this civil society, we have to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And we recognize that, and as a result, we need our partners, and we need to continue to collaborate and find opportunities by creating these solutions.